If you give too much importance to something, if you care too much, your performance will suffer because you build up resistance. I help a lot of high performers to get back to their high performance by lowering the level of resistance, by lowering the level of importance. So if you want to hang with me for a second, I'm going to give you a practice so you can continuously stay on a level of high performance. And no matter if you're a business owner, an athlete, a musician, or you just want to be more carefree and more happy in life, this is going to help you. So first question, what causes the resistance? You probably realize the harder you think and the more you focus on getting the outcome that you want so much, and the more you put time pressure on you. I need to get everything right now. I'm not productive. What am I doing with my life? The more importance you build and the more anxiety and stress comes up in your body, and the more you close that channel that leads you to creativity, intuition, and inspiration. So your next question should be, okay, so how do I lower my importance so I can open my channel, so I can get my creativity, carefreeness, intuition, inspiration back, and I can be more of myself? The first answer is we have to show our brain that we don't care anymore so much about freaking out about this outcome. You might not believe this, but our brain actually takes their orders from us, specifically from our focus, what we focus on. The problem here is that since you've been for a while now focusing on the thoughts like, oh, I'm not performing, I'm not where I want to be, I don't have time, I need to get this done, I'm stuck. Your brain is like, oh, you love spending time on these thoughts. I am your brain, I'm your best friend. I always want to give you what you want to spend your time and energy on. And since you spend a lot of time on these thoughts, I'm going to give you automatically now more of these thoughts. So out of your control, already when you wake up and during the day, your brain gives you all kinds of thoughts about that you're not performing well, etc. automatically without you thinking them. You cannot control that these thoughts are coming in, and I'm not asking you to control it, but you can control with your focus if you talking back to them. When you're talking back, which you have been doing, your brain's like, oh, you still love this. Let me give you even more. And then you're freaking more out because you're identifying with those thoughts, even though the brain is just a regurgitating machine that gives you more what you spent your time and energy on. And this process will cause more resistance. So to drop this resistance right here, we have to show our brain that we don't care about it anymore. And we do that by focusing, instead of the outcome, we focus on the process, aka the valued actions. By focusing on the valued actions, even though the brain keeps giving us those thoughts, over time, you're showing the brain that you don't care anymore about this, but that you care more about this. Now, the importance here is to not fight these thoughts, because when you do the valued actions, the brain will still for some time, the brain here will still for some time give you those thoughts. But if you're like, oh, they shouldn't be here, why are they here, they're upsetting me, you make the measure of success that thoughts are there or not there. Instead, I want you to make the measure of success just going through the process, just doing the actions. And I want you to celebrate yourself for this instead of this. Now in that process, the brain will be like, no, you're still confused, you're not inspired, you don't feel like doing the actions. And if you listen to that, if you stop doing the actions because of a feeling of not being inspired or feeling that you don't feel like it, the brain's like, oh, you love reacting to the feeling of not feeling like it and the thought that you're still confused and not inspired and that's why you can't do it. Let me give you more of that. So the paradox is we don't make the measure of success the emotions or the thoughts. We celebrate the valued actions no matter what emotions and thoughts we have. And then we're like, yes, we did this and we did this and we did this. And then you get more wins in first, right? Which you celebrate, which gives you more confidence. But then now I'm going to show you something else that will help you. You're going to do a self-talk technique that I learned from Abraham Hicks, amazing, and we're going to do it in the form of a focus wheel, which you're just going to draw a circle, right? You've been practicing negative self-talk, and we cannot jump from negative self-talk directly to positive self-talk. That's why we do this special key, and I love this so much. We have to go general. And I know you'd be like, oh, what's general? I explain it to you. To start this exercise, we have to know where you are emotionally and your thought process, because if we don't know where you are, we cannot know where you're going. Like, if you don't know you are in Dallas, you don't know how to get to Arizona because you don't have your starting point. So we have to know your starting point. So let's assume your starting point is you don't have clarity, you feel stuck, and your thought process is kind of like, I don't know the next steps, I'm confused. Now in the middle of the circle, we write your goal, which is, I have clarity and feel successful. Now rewrite your first general statement, and every statement, the only measure of success is that it feels lighter in your body, and that's why it's unique to you, and it has to match your belief system. You have to believe it. If you don't believe it, it's also not going to feel lighter. And with my clients, I like to ask them questions that lead them to those statements. So I'm going to ask all of you a question now. Do you think there, from the 7 billion people in the world, there have been people there who didn't have clarity, who felt stuck, and who didn't know their next step, but at some point they had their breakthrough and they figured it out? So I'm pretty sure all of you guys said, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Of course, from these 7 billion people, there are other people who were stuck and then they came out on top. So I said, there are other people who went through what I went through and came out on top. That should be a statement that you believe. So if this one is true, then the next one must be true, which is, so it must be possible. Which is lighter, right? Because if it wasn't like, if it would be impossible, then that wouldn't feel good. Like, then you can just give up. But it must be possible. And since those were humans, they were the species of humans, and you are a human, that's a good thing because you're very much alike. So there's a higher possibility that's possible that you could get out of this. Now, the next statement that I'm going to make up, which I think is true also about you, since you're watching something about self-development, is that I think you're trying to grow. You want to grow. You want to get better. Now, my question is to you, is there a higher likelihood for someone who wants to grow, who wants to get better, who wants to get out of this, that they actually have a higher likelihood to get out of this than someone who's just like, I don't really care? So your desire, and actually it's 8 minutes and 17 minutes now, you've been watching this whole time. If you're still watching, it means you actually care, which means the people who actually care, there's a higher possibility, a higher likelihood that you actually will succeed. So I wrote, people who want to succeed have a higher likelihood to get out of this stuckness. Do you see how general? These are very general. Now, do they feel, even if it's just a little bit, does that feel a little bit lighter, that there is a possibility? Now, the next question that I have for you is, what things recently or the last years you went through and you had successes and you are proud of? Because I'm sure you can just think back right now where at times they were like, oh, I did this and I did that. And if I did that and I was already successful, I can do it again in another way. So I already succeeded in other things, so maybe I can also do it here. Do you see the words that I'm using? I'm using possibility, likelihood, maybe, because they work better with your belief systems. And I just want you to feel, oh, does that feel lighter? Another statement which I love, I don't have to figure out everything today to be successful. Like, even if today you don't figure it out, you could figure it out in a month or 3 months, and then you would still be successful. Do you see how this statement lowers importance? And you can use this literally, those statements that make you feel lighter, as affirmations, and then you have less resistance and can perform better. I'm out of time, so ask your questions for part 2.